The call came in from a concerned lady outside the cafe. She remarked, "What's going on with the building? The restaurant door is wide open, and there's no one around." In the background, his truck sat abandoned. On October 7th, 2022, his son made a frantic 911 call, reporting that his father, 65-year-old Donald Lewis, had mysteriously vanished from his jazz cafe in Milwaukee alongside a coworker. The signs pointed toward a grisly abduction. As the investigation unfolded, an unsettling intuition gripped the community. It was clear something was amiss, and the evidence began weaving a complex riddle. The twisted trail of clues would soon reveal a horrifying narrative. There were chilling signs of life missing from the scene. Detectives were shaken when they unearthed a shocking twist. Their victim, it seemed, was also the real killer hiding in plain sight. With certainty, one officer declared, "I know for a fact that you're lying to me." Now, the time had come for the truth to surface. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, police arrested a suspect near the Young Urban Jazz Cafe, located close to Fond du Lac Avenue and North 24th Street, where Donald Lewis had been the owner. Known affectionately as Don, he was a father of two and a lifelong devotee of jazz music. His passion for life was palpable, but it all took a terrifying turn that fateful afternoon of October 7, 2022. Andre Lewis, Don's son, received a distressing call from one of his father's friends. The cafe had been left unlocked for an unusually long time, and Donald was nowhere to be found, a situation that felt deeply unsettling. Concerned, Andre rushed to the jazz cafe with his mother, Celestine Lewis. The scene they encountered was alarming. With urgency, he called 911, having learned from a passerby that everything was wide open. The lady outside had insisted there was something wrong. Around 2:20 p.m., Milwaukee police officers arrived on the scene, responding to the call made by Andre. The ominous feeling lingered. Something was indeed wrong. Andre shared his fears with the officers, explaining, "My father opens the cafe every morning at 6. Someone must have come in, robbed him, and taken him away." "Who informed you of this?" an officer inquired. Andre replied, "We talked to neighbors and my brother. He's probably still around. You should speak with regular customers who frequented the cafe." Witnesses had mentioned seeing the cafe's employee, but questions remained. "How do you know he's been kidnapped?" The officer probed. "How?" Andre responded, bewildered. "I arrived around 1:30 p.m. today." "Let me get this straight. You got here at 1:30 p.m.? The officer confirmed. "Yes," Andre replied, frustration creeping into his voice. "Where's the cash?" "It was right there." The drawer was already opened, Andre explained, pointing. "Where's the gun?" an officer asked. "It was on the counter right underneath," Andre replied, his anxiety palpable. "And the security system?" The officers noted the open cash drawer, now empty. "Where's the basement?" "I want to take a look," one officer said. Andre responded, "The lady called me, and then I called my mom." "Can we open this locked door?" the officer asked. "Sure, let me just check what's inside," Andre replied, leading them down a narrow stairway. Donald held keys to most parts of the basement, creating a barrier for law enforcement. They were aware of cases where landlords had been abducted for cash, and this situation bore an unsettling resemblance. The detectives sensed a sinister undercurrent. They suspected that Donald Lewis had been forcibly taken from his beloved cafe, a place that had once echoed with the sounds of jazz. Upon their arrival, the detectives conducted a meticulous examination. The security cameras were missing, and the cafe was left wide open. The cash register was empty, confirming their suspicions. Someone had taken the money. "I did a thorough walkthrough, and I didn't find anything, no blood, no signs of struggle," one officer reported. "We're going to conduct one more search, just to be sure." The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on them. The urgency escalated when one officer suggested the other employee is likely kidnapped. "What do you mean he's kidnapped?" "Being held hostage." "Why?" Another officer questioned as they began piecing together the unfolding mystery. A resident of the neighborhood reported having conversations with people nearby. The cafe door, heavily secured with padlocks, barred their entry, leaving the detectives frustrated and eager for answers. The detectives were relieved to receive some cooperation. With no clues found inside the cafe, they turned their attention to Donald Lewis and the dynamics of his establishment, particularly his staff. Jason Small, Donald's son, relayed critical information to the detectives. Jason was expected at the cafe, Yet both he and his father were unaccounted for. What time does Jason usually arrive? The detectives inquired. At 6 in the morning, the detectives faced a daunting challenge. We cannot reach Jason, they lamented, and no one knows where he lives. The question lingered, how long had they known him? The witness admitted a lack of personal acquaintance, saying only he's an employee. I visit occasionally. He has worked here for about 5 months. Yet, Jason was now missing, just like the cafe's owner. This troubling situation hinted at a sinister plot. An unaccounted firearm raised alarms among the detectives, suggesting a more complex scenario was unfolding. A gun? The realization struck hard. They lacked crucial details about the weapon's owner, including age and race. No one had Jason's information from that morning's shift. Jason had been present, running the cafe alongside his father. Yet the detectives were still unable to contact him. No one possessed his phone number. In a desperate move, the detectives sought out a woman believed to be Jason's friend, hoping she could shed light on his whereabouts. The family had no contact details for Jason, but Andre managed to reach one of his acquaintances, adding another layer to the mystery. Did you hear from Jason? Andre asked. The friend revealed that she had spoken to him earlier that morning, but since then, his phone had gone silent. This alarming revelation deepened the detectives' concerns, hinting at another possible victim. The urgency escalated as the detectives realized they might be dealing with a potential kidnapping. Time was of the essence. If someone was in danger, swift action was crucial. Andre felt a wave of anxiety wash over him. He was deeply worried about Donald and Jason, grappling with the unsettling thought that someone might have forcibly removed them from the cafe. The investigation took a dramatic turn when detectives met a friend of Donald, the first to notice his absence and alert Andre. So, you called Mr. Andre? They asked, seeking more information. What time is it? She replied, a hint of urgency in her voice. The woman shared her concerns with Ambrose, a local store owner who mentioned seeing an unfamiliar person in the cafe that morning. Please call me later, she urged. Something felt amiss. She explained that Donald was missing along with Jason, to which she countered, no, Jason was there early, accompanied by a young lady. Describing the young woman, Ambrose recalled she was dark-skinned, appearing to be in her mid to late 20s. This unfamiliar presence raised more questions, compelling detectives to identify who she was. The search for answers led detectives to Jason's past. They discovered an address where he had previously lived with roommates, and they rang the doorbell. How's it going, Mom? They asked, hoping for cooperation. Can we come in and talk to you for a second? Upon entering, the detectives learned Jason had moved out, revealing an unstable living situation that complicated their investigation. Jason's transient lifestyle presented significant challenges for the detectives. They pressed on, uncovering another address linked to Jason's sister. As they arrived, they noticed the door was already ajar. Cautiously, the officers entered the open apartment, scanning for any signs of life. They searched each room, but the unsettling reality hit them. The apartment was empty and devoid of any occupants. The scene was eerily quiet, void of any clues or signs of life. The absence of Mr. Lewis and Jason only intensified the detective's sense of urgency. Time was slipping away, and with it, the hope of locating individuals who might be in grave danger. The detectives pressed on, striving to gather fresh intelligence from those who knew Donald Lewis and Jason Small. Yet each lead turned cold, leaving them empty-handed in their desperate race against time. Determined to find a breakthrough, the detectives sought direction. Approaching one of Donald's sisters, they expressed their need for information. The frustration was palpable. Reaching her was proving to be a daunting task. The detectives intensified their efforts, eventually locating another sister's residence. Inside, they encountered Jason's brother, a man reluctant to cooperate. His resistance posed a significant challenge for the detectives, as he insisted, "This is my brother. I know this, sir." The tension escalated as the brother questioned why they couldn't speak together. The detective, seeking clarity, explained the necessity of separate interviews. "We have two options here," he stated, laying out a stark choice to ensure cooperation. The detective offered an ultimatum. Either they could converse separately here, or social services would be called to take the children away. The brother hesitated, unwilling to comply, insisting he doesn't want to go. The standoff continued as the detective insisted on placing him in cuffs. "You can't put me in cuffs," he protested. "Oh, yes, I can," the detective replied firmly, emphasizing the interference with their investigation. Family loyalty clashed with the need for answers. The family yearned to uncover the truth about Jason's whereabouts. As the officers requested Jason's brother to step out during his sister's interview, the atmosphere thickened with uncooperative tension. "I'll try to find out what's going on," he muttered, frustration evident. "I know my holdup. Hold up, sir." "Let me talk," the detective interjected, attempting to calm the situation. "We're here for your brother's benefit. I understand you're not a suspect." Yet, the brother remained skeptical. "Why would I cooperate? I need to know what's going on first." The family found themselves in a fog of uncertainty, while the officers' irritation grew as they struggled to gain trust. Distrust simmered between the community and law enforcement. "This has built up over time," a family member noted, acknowledging the friction that plagued their interactions with the police. "In every investigation, there were individuals who avoided police contact. It doesn't feel great because you're in my presence, right?" he challenged, pointing out the discomfort created by the officers' uniforms. "I can't see your eyes, but I don't see a holster or anything else," he continued, expressing concerns over racial profiling. The conversation turned to the broader implications of a black man facing police scrutiny. "You just assumed there was a problem," he asserted. The detective countered, "I didn't assume anything. I'm checking for my safety." Tensions escalated as both sides grappled with their fears and mistrust. Recognizing the stalemate, the detectives approached Jason's brother once more. "All right, sir, let's take him down," they stated, hoping to break the deadlock. "Sir, there's no reason for this," the detective urged. "We're trying to talk to your brother. We don't know if he's okay or if he may be lying dead somewhere, but you refuse to engage with us." The brother fired back, "Well, because you've been aggressive? If you could just speak to me like a certified human being, that would be fine." Finally, the brother relented slightly, admitting, "A while ago. I haven't seen him for a couple of months." But his lack of useful information left the detectives frustrated. The connection between them appeared weak. Instead, he directed the officers to another sister who he claimed had been in more frequent contact with Jason. "Walk straight ahead, the door to the right, okay?" So, the common hallway. "Yeah, no movement," he instructed. "Do you want to knock on the side door?" he asked, a hint of uncertainty in his voice. "Hold on, I thought I heard something." "Who is it?" "Oh, light one on." "Here you go, contact right here." In a separate investigation, detectives approached Jason's sister. "Hello, how are you? Do you know Jason?" they asked, seeking insight into his whereabouts. "Yes, he is your brother," she replied. The detectives inquired if she had heard from him recently. In a tense inquiry, the detectives sought to ensure nothing had gone awry. They noted that Jason Small, an employee at the Jazz Cafe, was unaccounted for. The cafe owner was also missing. The detectives pressed for information, asking if anyone knew whom he associated with or where they might reside. One witness provided a name, a woman with the last name Holt. This individual informed the detectives that Jason had been seen in the company of a black female. This revelation ignited the officers' interest, as they had been searching for a black woman who had previously been spotted at the crime scene. Fueled by this lead, the detectives decided it was imperative to revisit the Jazz Cafe for further investigation. With keys obtained from family members, the detectives unlocked specific areas in the cafe's basement. What they discovered was unsettling. Boxes were carelessly piled, seemingly concealing something ominous beneath. As the detectives cautiously moved the boxes, they were met with a heart-stopping sight. "There are no signs of life," one officer noted, observing the telltale signs of rigor mortis beginning to set in. They found blood splattered throughout the area. Hidden beneath the boxes lay the lifeless body of a man, deceased for at least a day. He had been shot once in the front and twice in the back. Nearby, bottles of cleaning compounds hinted at a desperate attempt to erase the evidence. The detectives concluded that the killer had tried to eliminate any trace of the crime. Their suspicions were confirmed when they discovered identity and credit cards belonging to Donald Lewis in the deceased's pockets. The grim discovery shattered the hearts of Donald's family, who now grappled with the reality that their cherished family member had been murdered in the basement of his own cafe. As the detectives confronted this tragic end, their focus shifted to uncovering the whereabouts of the next potential victim. With information from Jason's sister, the detectives traced an address connected to the black female. But upon their arrival, the situation took a sudden turn when they spotted Jason, who fled at the sight of the officers. In a panic, he dashed into a nearby house, raising suspicions among the detectives. His actions spoke volumes, and they felt the stakes had risen dangerously high. A disturbance echoed from upstairs, leading the detectives to find Jason cowering in the attic. Cornered and with no escape route, he finally emerged and was promptly arrested for obstruction. As they prepared to search the house where Jason had sought refuge, the homeowner unexpectedly entered, demanding to know the purpose of their presence. "I need to know what's going on here," she insisted. The detective sought to clarify the situation, but she appeared perplexed, seemingly unaware of Jason's identity and less than pleased to see the police at her residence. The homeowner was reluctant to cooperate, questioning the officers. "You need my permission to do this. You just did it. Now you say you need a search warrant?" Her frustration grew as she expressed distrust. "You're concerned about my safety? I don't trust you with my safety. I trust myself more than I trust you." The detectives explained the necessity of obtaining a search warrant, emphasizing the urgency of their investigation. "If someone was in my house and I wasn't home, I'd say go in, get them," she retorted. The investigator, firm yet cautious, explained, "I can't give you details regarding the investigation. We're asking her to give us 2 to 3 hours to get a search warrant." The urgency was palpable. "Exactly. If someone was in my house and I wasn't home, I'd say go in, get them. But you have to remember who's doing the violating," an officer reminded as detectives finally obtained the consent needed to conduct a thorough search. Inside the house, the investigator paused, sensing something was off. "No, I'm sorry. Something's back there," he stated, his instincts sharp. The atmosphere was charged as the detectives made their way back outside. One officer, driven by instinct, spotted a garbage cart and approached it, unaware that within it lay the key to unraveling the case. A glance to the left revealed the unassuming cart, a mere collection of refuse, but it would soon prove pivotal. As the officer pried the cart open, he discovered a large black garbage bag nestled inside. With a sense of urgency, they removed the bag, eager to uncover its secrets. What they found within would send shivers down their spines: a Swan DVR surveillance system. A pungent odor of cleaner wafted from the depths of the bag, hinting at a grim revelation. The contents of the garbage bag promised to change everything in this investigation, signaling a shocking discovery that would not soon be forgotten. A potent scent of cleaner wafted from within a garbage bag, hinting at a shocking discovery that would shake the case to its core. "Plug it in. You might capture some kind of gruesome murder on video," one officer suggested, while they encountered a woman they were initially seeking, a friend of Jason's. "Hey, do you live here?" they inquired. "I used to live in another state. I work there, but I'm just here visiting my boyfriend with my kids," she replied, sounding cautious. "I figured I'd come by since he told me to keep you safe from everybody." "Yes, ma'am," an officer confirmed. "Do you have an ID on you?" They took her to the station for questioning. "Who was at the house with you today?" "Jason," she answered nervously. "I do not, but I don't know anything that's going on." She recounted a tense moment when Jason saw the police and fled. "When I saw my kids in the back seat, I ran outside to go get Jason, and that was about a month and a half ago." "Jason, is that your boyfriend?" an officer asked. "Yeah, I met him at his job," she replied. "How long have you guys been together?" "Pretty much, to be honest. I had seen this guy for the most part, right when I went to the caf just to pick him up." "Yes, I was texting from the car. I was calling from the car. I was trying to wait. I kept calling, and he kept saying, 'I'm coming. I'm on my way out there. Just wait a couple of minutes.'" Michelle recounted the day of the incident, a day that would change everything. She had gone to meet Jason as planned, but his odd behavior stirred her concerns. Frustration set in after waiting for more than an hour. Michelle then disclosed a detail that heightened the detective's suspicions. "I went inside just for a moment," she said, "and he said, 'Okay, I'm just finishing sweeping the floor.' I watched him mop and sweep the kitchen floor. As she observed, something felt amiss. I could tell it wasn't a normal cleaner or something. No, it was like a fragrant cleaner. It smelled really floral in there. Then he got in the car, and I asked, 'Well, is your boss coming now to lock the place?' He replied, 'No.' They had words about his pay, saying, 'We had words because I told him he's not going to use me.'" In a moment of clarity, Michelle confided that Jason's relationship with his boss had soured. "What do you think at this point? You think it's all good?" She recalled questioning. "I think that I do," she continued, her voice laced with doubt. He was often in the back of the restaurant, and now that this has happened, my mind wanders. He must have been doing something back there. He kept telling me he was cleaning up. Now, reflecting on those moments, Michelle's mind spiraled with uncertainty. He must have been doing something back there. He kept telling me he was cleaning up. Jason Small had been vocal about his grievances, often lamenting how Donald Lewis, his boss, had been underpaying him. The tension between them had been palpable, a simmering resentment that hinted at deeper issues. Investigators knew that if they were to uncover the truth behind Don's murder, they needed to explore every angle. The final piece of this sinister puzzle emerged when Michelle revealed that Jason was facing financial troubles, a revelation that shifted the focus of the investigation. With this new information, the detectives decided it was time to place Jason under intense interrogation. As the detectives confronted him, they began with a simple question. "You know who Don Lewis is, correct?" Jason nodded. "Yeah, that's my boss." They pressed further. "When was the last time you were at the caf?" Jason recounted, "I opened up with Don, then he picked me up. He was at the bar, at the caf." Meanwhile, a frantic call had come into the police station. A woman, clearly distressed, called around 2 p.m. urgently asking, "Where are you? Are you all right?" "Don's missing. Don's missing." The detectives probed Jason. "Did you say anything else to her?" He hesitated, then replied, "I said, they got us." The detectives leaned in, intrigued. "They got us? What does that mean?" Jason's response dripped with anxiety. "It's like I'm just feeling threatened." In the midst of this chaos, a witness recounted, "So, did you know Don was missing?" The answer came with a sense of dread. "Oh, when? When Michelle called me. She works at the caf with us." Investigators pressed him further. "What are you being threatened for? What are we dealing with here?" Jason's answer sent chills down their spines. "We're dealing with drug gang members who kidnap people for money." As the interrogation unfolded, Jason's voice trembled with unease. "What did you say to her?" He recalled the weight of his words hanging in the air. "I said, they got us." This cryptic remark prompted the detectives to probe deeper. "They got us? What does that mean?" They pressed, sensing his apprehension. Jason's response revealed his vulnerability. "I'm feeling threatened," he admitted, the fear etched on his face. The detective sensed a deeper menace lurking in his words. "What are you being threatened for? What is it that we're dealing with here?" they asked, seeking clarity in the midst of confusion. He struggled to articulate his thoughts, his memories clouded by fear. "We're dealing with drug gang members who kidnap people for money," he finally managed. Yet, the more he spoke, the more his narrative unraveled, leaving the detective skeptical. Jason's reluctance to provide details was palpable. "I know for a fact that you're lying to me," one detective asserted, frustration evident in his tone. "You know what happened to Don, don't you?" Jason faltered, his eyes darting. "I know what happened because Don stopped answering his phone at 10:04, he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "Nobody has heard from Don since 10:00 yesterday." He pleaded, "I want to explain everything to you while I can, but we can't do this." The detective seized the moment. "We found the DVR system that was taken from the caf," he stated, the tension rising. "This is the time when you need to start telling us what's going on, because probably within the next hour or two, we're going to have access to it." The clock was ticking, and the truth was on the verge of being revealed. In a tense moment, Jason Small faced the detectives with a defensive posture. "Do you want to wait and see the footage for yourselves, or will you tell us what happened?" He questioned, clearly aware of the gravity of the situation. He invoked his right to an attorney, a move that signaled the detectives' pressing need for a confession to secure an official arrest. Shortly after the interrogation was halted, the detectives found themselves poring over the footage retrieved from the DVR system. The grainy images revealed Jason and Don together inside the caf, their camaraderie now tinged with suspicion. Before the atmosphere turned chilling, Jason Small was seen walking behind the counter where the gun was kept. He grabbed a white apron, and as he turned, it was clear that the object was wrapped in its folds, raising unsettling questions about its true nature. With an air of purpose, he walked off camera, leaving an ominous silence in his wake. Soon after, he and Donald Lewis were captured on film, engaged in a conversation that hinted at a deeper, darker connection, before they both made their way to the stairs leading to the basement. The interaction felt heavy, as if something sinister lurked just beneath the surface. Jason and Don exchanged words, but what they discussed remained a mystery, their descent into the basement foreshadowing the events to come. Tragically, that night marked the last time anyone would see Donald Lewis alive. Shortly after, only Jason Small emerged from the basement, clutching a black garbage bag, a crucial piece of evidence that would later come to light during the investigation following his arrest. In addition to the DVR system, detectives uncovered a disturbing collection of towels, clothing, and aprons, all soaked in blood, hidden within that very garbage bag. Forensic examination later confirmed the fingerprints on these items belonged to Jason Small. The blood was identified as belonging to Donald Lewis. Consequently, Jason Small was arrested on first-degree murder charges. As the trial unfolded 2 years later, in 2024, the prosecution laid out a compelling case before the jury, detailing the evidence that pointed to a fatal conflict over a payment dispute between him and Donald. On July 9, 2024, the jury returned a guilty verdict against Jason Small for first-degree murder and possession of a firearm. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a decision that marked a small measure of justice for the victim's family. In a moving tribute, a local resident reflected on the loss, expressing how Donald embodied the spirit of Milwaukee. He was a joyful presence who left behind a legacy of cherished memories for his loved ones. The tragedy of Donald Lewis's death lies in the senseless loss of a passionate music lover and devoted family man, all because of a trivial financial dispute. His passing created an irreplaceable void within his family, a wound that justice alone could not heal. Andre Lewis, Donald's son, recalled the devastation of witnessing his mother's grief. He reflected on how hearing certain songs his father used to play would evoke disbelief, leaving him in anguish over the reality of their loss. Each note echoed with memories, and as he listened to his father's music, it felt as if Donald was still present, a bittersweet reminder of love and loss intertwined. In a heartfelt farewell, the community took a moment to express their condolences to the family of Donald Lewis, a victim taken too soon. May his soul find eternal peace.